So for my first episode, I wanted to have someone that I not only have a great relationship with, but someone that inspires me every day, someone whose story I truly do admire, someone who kind of encapsulates what I think it means to be a great person, an exemplary example of a black man. And so without further ado, I'd like to welcome to the first episode of Let's Talk, Ekwe Edwin Lewis Foley. So tell me how, I know that we had a conversation for the first time about 2 years ago, and that was when I really got to know you as an individual, and I really realized, man, this guy's got a unique story, and even outside of being fraternity brothers and best friends, from a man's perspective to a man, it's something that I admire. And so tell me a little bit more about that, like your transition from your beginnings to where you are kind of now.
Well, it's a lot. Funny thing once you think about writing autobiography. But many people don't know, but my full name isn't actually Lewis Foley. Everybody knows me as Lewis around seeing you, but my name is Ekwe Edwin Lewis Foley, and I was born in Togo, West Africa. I was born and raised, lived there until about October 30th, 2006. I'm still not sure if it was the 30th or the 31st, but it's one of those days. So maybe on Halloween, maybe the day before. But that's when I moved to America, and my life has changed ever since. From sunny 75 degrees every single day to seeing snow for the first time, or for the first time in my life, being somebody who didn't belong. Somebody who didn't speak the native language. I still remember when we got to, we're going through TSA in the airport, all I still spoke was French and Eve. And my sister actually is the only person who, she took an English class because she was in what the equivalent was of a 10th grader at the time. So she took a English class, so when we were going through and we didn't really understand some stuff. So she was a big help to my mom and my brother when we were moving here. So.
Right. Okay. And so you guys, you said your mom, your brother, and your sister. What about your father? Was your father in the picture at a very young age? And
yeah, so my father's always been in the picture.
Okay.
I was born, and it's one of the more things that, I have to remind myself to be grateful for every day. My parents are still happily married. We're a full family. So my dad actually left to move to America May 23rd, 2003. And his reason was a little bit different. Togo as a country was just going through this turmoil. The government and the military and the people were just kind of fighting against each other. It was, like most Western African countries, Togo is not very stable. So my dad was actually in a revolutionary force. They were basically the people fighting for the coup d'etat, the overthrow of government. And when it was a big election that I believe that happened that occurred that year in 2002, and the government won. The government won, I guess, what you would call the battle. But the main reason why they're fighting for power and all that, the forces that the revolutionary team was campaigning and protesting against, they won. So after that rule began, they wanted to basically erase everybody that was protesting against them. So people like my dad, they were sought out, to basically arrest and throw in jail, or even in some cases kill. So he found that by being known as a person who was somebody that fought against injustice and all that, he wasn't safe. So he actually won the lottery visa. For most of you that don't know what that is.
Explain that a little bit. So lottery visa.
Yeah, so in a lot of West African countries, you can't just, sign in America where you can just be like, feel like I want to
go to Australia.
Yeah, I want to go to Australia.
Yeah.
There's a whole process, and to enter your name into some sort of lottery, or you know, there are things that, you know, on your resume basically that can make your chances to go to different countries like America a little easier. Like if you have a steady job, you have a good degree, you're probably on the list of people that will, you know, they can let leave, stuff like that. So he won the lottery visa, and he knew that. Well, he found out, unfortunately, that his medical degree that he got in his college degree, in biology that he got in Togo from the University of Togo, wouldn't transfer to the United States because he was a lab technician there. So he was basically going to be considered as somewhat of the equivalent of a high school student here in America, and you know, going to having a full family home, you know, in the capital city and living, you know, a pretty well-off life. You know, you had to go back to a whole new country, from, you know, a developing country to somewhere where you're, you know, the only job you could probably get is at a fast food restaurant.
Right.
So he, you know, it was a hard decision for him, but you know, he knew what he had to do for the family. So he, he told my mom, okay, well, I'm gonna go to America. I'm gonna establish, you know, some sort of roots for us, work, get us a nice little house or apartment, and then, you know, when I accumulate enough money, I'll bring you guys over. So yeah, he did just that. At the time, he was in his mid-30s. So for you know, somebody to basically drop whatever they're doing, their, you know, life, you know, they're pretty well off, and to go, you know, to go to America and work, you know, at CVS or flipping burgers at Wendy's, just to, you know, to bring your whole family over. That's still one of the days that, like I say, the chip that I carry on my shoulder.
I know that you're, I guess, technically the middle sibling. There's 4 of you guys total, right?
Yeah.
And so, you know, I've known you, and in the 4 years that I've known you, to be a very consistent person, very hardworking, very dedicated, a person that will sacrifice, you know, individual pleasures in order to do what is needed for the responsibilities that you have. And so, how would you say that, looking at your parents' example, looking at your, I guess you could say, humble beginnings, how has that motivated you to continue striving for the things that you're going after? And then within that, what are some of those goals that you do have?
For me, you know, like I said, with the chip on my shoulders, I know that my parents have done that. So it'd be disrespectful for me to be lazy. You know, because when you're lazy, I read it somewhere that when you're lazy, you're disrespecting everybody that believed in you. And that's, if my parents, you know, I feel like whenever, you know, with all my involvements and my academic work and all that, whenever I, you know, I think about thoughts of quitting or, you know, being average and going, you know, everybody's shooting for C, why not shoot for C yourself? You know, that's what I think of. You know, I'm basically spitting on all of my parents with the hard work and dedication that took my parents for us to even get here. So I use that, you know, that's what I've used to achieve all my academic prowess that I've done here at Christopher Newport. So I'm excited for the future, and I'm excited.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say one thing that it sounds like you have, and it's something similar to what I have, is that vision, right? That ideal. You don't know what the pieces in between are going to necessarily look like all the time, right? Because you kind of play with the cards you're dealt. But being able to have that, you know, masterful sense of being able to play that hand you're dealt, and then from there still play it in line with your vision, is something I think is incredibly inspiring, right? And it's difficult. It's difficult to be able to stay on track with everything. But as you say, you know, you have family, you have friends, you're a very social person, and I admire how you take the responsibility and the weight of knowing that, you know, your calling is something greater, something beyond yourself, right? Your calling is something to be able to do more, not only for yourself, but for the people that are around you. And so one thing you touched on that I did kind of want to go into a little bit more is, you know, you said in the next decade, you pride yourself on wanting to build this generation of Black accountants, right? And so coming from Africa, right, and then coming to Alexandria, Virginia, which I don't have a statistics sheet in front of me, but you could say Northern Virginia is a predominantly white community, predominantly white American community. And so, you know, coming from a different country, completely different customs, and then having to transition and kind of learn how that is, but then also learning how to even be a Black American within that. Take me through that process. Take me through what that felt like. Was it difficult? If it was difficult, what were the challenges? And then how were ways that you've overcome it to be able to put yourself in a place where you can proudly say that, yes, I'm African, but I'm a Black American as well.
One big thing people forget is that, you know, when Africans move to America, it's hard to identify yourself as, you know, a black kid, because you weren't, you know, experiencing the same type of Black culture back home.
Right.
There's a huge difference between a Black home and an African home, and that's a lot of times, you know, people from the outside can't necessarily tell, you know, because, you know, you have the same skin color.
They see the skin color,
yeah,
right?
See the skin color, and you just assume that, okay, you're typically Black. So when you did all the thing, you know, Black kids would do, you know, as Africans, you know, again, completely different culture. The parents have different expectations, and everything is so much more intense. And you're facing dad, and as well as, you know, you're at a developing age where, you know, you want to be liked, you want to make friends, and the only thing I resorted to at that time was trying to be like everybody else. It wasn't until, I believe, when I got to college and had my first real African American experience from all the high school and middle school, when I was, you know, just trying to be like everybody else, trying to be do and act in a way that I could be liked by everybody. You know, the funny fact, I actually won homecoming king in high school, homecoming and prom king in high school, and it was solely because of the fact that everybody knew me. Everybody knew who Louis Foley was because I tried to please everybody. I still, like, at that time, I didn't know who I was. I still don't know who I am, who I was. I didn't know who I was until when I got to Christopher Newport and met the people that I did, and realized, you know, what I believed in and what I didn't, and didn't have to try and force myself to be like everybody else anymore. And one big thing that I credit for learning that was during my fraternity, you know, Alpha Alpha and the Usain Band chapter really just taught me that, you know, I could be myself and be Louis Foley that I always, you know, think about and wants to be. And through that is actually when I first learned my first real Black experience. And by that I mean, you know, I joined a Black fraternity, and through that, that's when I started feeling the Black culture. And knowing, because, you know, moving from another country, people forget a lot of times that, like, you know, I missed out on a lot of stuff. You know, I didn't officially was done learning English and like I understand music and movies and all that until probably like late 2007. So all the, you know, early 2000s hip hop and rap and R&B that people know about, I wasn't American for all that. So I don't, you know, it's kind of hard to, it's not like a playlist you can just sit down and, you know, catch up on about a decade of music. Maybe, yeah, right? So I missed out a lot of that, and through Alpha is when I first, like, realized, like, the awesomeness of, you know, Black culture and art and people, and hearing about cookouts and, you know, like that. You know, the stereotypical things that, you know, we just talk about all the time that, you know, I didn't get a lot of terms. A lot of people, you know, because I am a Black man, just either associated me thinking that, you know I get it and can relate to every Black, you know, experience, but not really.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's really awesome. And so, just kind of all these things combining together, building together, have, I think, constructed you to be this great young man that has these aspirations of where you want to go and the things that you want to do to be able to influence and help others. And so, one thing that I do want to ask you is if you could change anything about the world right now, what would it be? and why?
Just a little more gratefulness would be something that, because I notice that a lot of my friends or a lot of people who are just privileged, where they're just you're forgetting that, like, you know, all the things that you have, like, somebody else doesn't, you know, and so that gratefulness, because I feel like that's the first step in being, you know, happier as a person. You know, when you know all the blessings that you have and are constantly thanking, you know, someone for it, or, you know, reciprocating that same energy that you get from that blessing onto somebody else, you know, that's one of the reasons why I'm constantly smiling, and even though I may be going through stuff, you know, I always try to put on a smile, you know, not just to cause a front, because, but my hope is that, you know, me being happy or me being in a good mood will inflict somebody who is going through something for them to, you know what, maybe I'm taking this too seriously. You know, maybe I need to, you know, realize that, like, wow, like, what I'm thinking about, what I'm stressed about could actually be kind of worse. You know, I just failed this test, but wow, like, you know, I'm still in college. I'm doing the thing. I can always bounce back. So that's something that I wish I could inflict.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that is a great last message to leave for everyone, being able to practice gratefulness. And you know, I'm grateful for you being here and being able to share your story with not only me, but everyone that'll watch it and take something away, and hopefully be inspired to go and break beyond those barriers with other people around them that they're interested in getting to know, interested in getting to have these conversations with. So, my guy, thank you. I do appreciate your time. Anytime that you'd like to talk, I'd love to. You can hit me up and say, and I pray that